Hello, all my dear student friends. Welcome to this session. We are studying the subject Power Engineering and Refrigeration. Second chapter is going on, IC engine testing. Now we are going to study the various pollutants present in the exhaust gases as well as their harmful effects. At the same time, we will also try to study the effect of the air fuel ratio on the emissions of the exhaust gases. Let us start, my dear friends. First of all, we will know what are the various pollutants present in the exhaust gases. The first one is the carbon monoxide, which is supposed to be the most harmful element present in the exhaust gas. Carbon dioxide in the form of smoke, then the oxides of nitrogen, the unburned hydrocarbons, unburned sulfur dioxide. So these are the pollutants which may be present in the exhaust gases. First of all, carbon monoxide. So what is the effect of the presence of the carbon monoxide in the environment on the human beings and the animals, that we are studying? So this carbon monoxide will combine with the hemoglobin and form carboxyl hemoglobin. So we know that hemoglobin is an important constituent of the human blood, and the color of the blood is red due to hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin will carry the oxygen from the lungs to each and every part of the body. But the capacity of the hemoglobin to carry the oxygen will be reduced due to carbon monoxide. And this will of course lead to laziness, breathing problem and headache. It also affects the cardiovascular system, causing heart problems. So heart problems are also caused due to the carbon monoxide. Next is carbon dioxide. Although carbon dioxide is less harmful as compared to carbon monoxide, but in the form of smoke and in increased concentration, it will cause suffocation and irritation to the human beings, and it also reduce the visibility. So visibility is also reduced due to the presence of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is also harmful to the food crops. It plays an important role in the greenhouse effect by trapping of infrared rays and thus warming of atmosphere. So what is this greenhouse effect? There are some gases like the carbon dioxide which will trap the rays of the sun, which are reflected back from the earth's surface. So since the rays of the sun, like the infrared rays, they are reflected back from the surface of the earth, the increase in temperature of the earth is controlled. But if these rays are absorbed up to some extent by some gases called as the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, that will lead to the global warming, and therefore this carbon dioxide should be present in limited quantity in the environment of the earth. Oxides of nitrogen. These oxides of nitrogen react with hydrocarbons in the presence of sunlight and will form photochemical smog that is toxic at higher concentration, and that will damage the food crops and that will affect the animal life. It will also cause harm to the human body. The unburnt hydrocarbons, due to the incomplete combustion, unburnt hydrocarbons are formed. So these unburnt hydrocarbons form photochemical smog with nitrogen oxide and sunlight. So in the presence of nitrogen oxide and in the presence of sunlight, these unburnt hydrocarbons will form the photochemical smog. The visibility is also reduced and it will also spread a peculiar odor, and it will cause the irritation to the eyes. It will also damage the vegetation. Vegetation means all the plants and the trees and the greenery, and it will accelerate the cracking of rubber products. So nowadays we are using several rubber products. So these rubber products will crack due to the presence of unburnt hydrocarbons. It will also induce cancer and affect the DNA growth and the cell growth. The DNA also, the human DNA is also affected by the unburnt hydrocarbons. Cancer may be induced and the cell growth is also affected by the unburnt hydrocarbons. Now finally the unburnt sulfur dioxide. So when the diesel contains sulfur, the unburnt sulfur dioxide may be emitted along with the exhaust gases. So that will cause the cardiac and respiratory diseases. It may cause the eye irritation, throat trouble to human beings, and it will affect the plant growth also. Now finally the particulates. These particulates include dust, smoke and lead. White smoke is formed by liquid droplets of the lubricating oil and fuel oil during cold starting, idling and low loads. So when the engine is idling or when the load is low or when the cold starting of the engine takes place, that time the white smoke is formed due to the liquid droplets of lubricating oil and the liquid droplets of the fuel oil, and this will affect the environment. Black smoke by incomplete combustion. So if the combustion is incomplete, then you will get the black smoke. So black smoke indicates that the combustion is incomplete. Smoke increases chances of cancer. Dust causes allergic and respiratory diseases. Smoke spoils clothing and exterior finish of buildings. Lead causes liver and kidney damage. Also, it will cause the mental retardation in children. Lead will also cause the abnormalities in fertility and the pregnancy. So this was the effect of the various exhaust gases on the human beings and on the life on earth. Now we'll go to the next part, that is the air fuel ratio and the effect of air fuel ratio on the emission. Air fuel ratio is the ratio of mass of air to the mass of fuel. So mass of air divided by the mass of fuel present in the charge which is supplied to the engine is called as the air fuel ratio. Now air fuel ratio should be suitable, should be proper. The air fuel ratio should be such that the complete combustion of the fuel should take place, and that air fuel ratio is called as the stoichiometric air fuel ratio or stoichiometric mixture. So this stoichiometric air fuel ratio is the air fuel ratio at which the mass of air in the air fuel mixture is just sufficient for complete combustion of the fuel. So whatever air is required for the complete combustion of the fuel, that much air is present in the mixture, neither more nor less. So exactly that much percentage of air is present in the air fuel mixture, which can burn the fuel completely, which can cause complete combustion of the fuel. Then this mixture is called as the stoichiometric mixture, and this ratio is called as the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. So generally it is desired that the air fuel ratio which is used by the engine should be stoichiometric. Whenever the engine is running at full speed or producing maximum power, especially when the engine is running with maximum efficiency, that time the ratio must be stoichiometric air fuel ratio. So it is, we are always trying our level best to see that during maximum running condition of the engine, the air fuel ratio is maintained to the stoichiometric air fuel ratio, so that the performance of the engine is better, the efficiency is good, and the pollutants are less. Now what is rich mixture? When air fuel ratio is less than the stoichiometric air fuel ratio, then the mixture is called as rich mixture. Suppose in a mixture of air and fuel, the ratio of air and fuel is less than the stoichiometric air fuel ratio, so that air fuel mixture is called as the rich mixture, because we know that air is free of cost and fuel is costly. Therefore when the percentage of fuel is more, then that mixture in which the percentage of fuel is more is called as the rich mixture. So the example of rich mixture is 9:1 or 10:1. That means 9 parts of air and 1 part of fuel, or 10 parts of air and 1 part of fuel. So this is less than 14.7, right? So which is generally supposed to be the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. Of course it depends upon the fuel also. It can be calculated for a particular fuel. What is the stoichiometric ratio, air fuel ratio, that can be calculated. Now if the mixture is lean, in lean mixture, the air fuel ratio is greater than the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. Whenever the mixture is lean, in the lean mixture, air fuel ratio is greater than the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. It may be something like 19:1 or 20:1. Now we are having certain values of this air fuel ratio. The value of air fuel ratio depends upon the condition of the engine, whether the engine is idling or whether we are starting the engine, or whether the acceleration is going on or the retardation is going on. Depending upon that, we are having the air fuel ratio. The air fuel ratio should be changed. The requirement of air fuel ratio changes depending upon the running condition of the engine. For example, if the engine is being started, cold starting of the engine is there, then the requirement of air fuel ratio is 9:1. Then if the warming up of the engine is there or idling is going on, then the requirement of air fuel ratio is 12:1. When acceleration is there, when the engine is accelerating, that time the air fuel ratio requirement is 11:1 to 13:1. So between 11 and 13, right? So 11 parts of air and 1 part of fuel, or 13 parts of air and 1 part of fuel. 11 to 13, that is the range for acceleration. If the engine is running with maximum thermal efficiency, when the efficiency of the engine is maximum, the throttle opening is 80%. The throttle valve is 80% open. That time the air fuel ratio requirement is 14.7:1. 14.7:1. This is the air fuel ratio requirement when the engine is running with maximum thermal efficiency, that is 80% throttle. Now when the engine is running with developing maximum power, when maximum power is developed by the engine, that time also the throttle position is at 80%. The throttle valve is 80% open. So that time the requirement of air fuel ratio is also 12:1. And finally, during retardation or during deacceleration, the air fuel ratio can be as lean as 17:1. So these are the requirements of the air fuel ratio at various conditions. At various conditions, these are the requirements of the air fuel ratio. Now again, we already studied that the air fuel ratio is the ratio of mass of air to the mass of fuel. Stoichiometric air fuel ratio is the air fuel ratio at which the mass of air in the air fuel mixture is just sufficient for complete combustion of the fuel. If the mixture is rich, then air fuel ratio is less than stoichiometric air fuel ratio. If the mixture is lean, then the air fuel ratio is greater than stoichiometric air fuel ratio. Now this stoichiometric air fuel ratio may vary from fuel to fuel. So generally we are using gasoline, we are using petrol or diesel. So the air fuel ratio, which is stoichiometric, may be something like 14.7. But here let us assume that 15:1 is the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. Assuming 15:1 as the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. So in that case, if the air fuel ratio is less, that means when the stoichiometric ratio is less than that, that means the fuel is excess. We are having excess fuel. If the stoichiometric ratio is less than 15:1. But if the stoichiometric air fuel ratio is greater than 15:1, then we say the air is excess. Air is in excess. So this side we are having excess air, this side we are having excess fuel. Right? So as we move to the left, the percentage of fuel is increased. As we move to the right, the percentage of air is increased. Right? So if the air fuel ratio is between 9:1 to 15:1, then that is called as the rich mixture. If the air fuel ratio of the mixture of air and fuel lies between 9:1 and 15:1, then that mixture is called as rich mixture. If the air fuel ratio is between 15:1 to 19:1, then that mixture is called as lean mixture. Now, when the air fuel ratio lies between 9:1 to 19:1, that is nothing but the useful air fuel mixture range. So we are using, throughout the working of the engine, we are using only this range which lies between 9:1 to 19:1. That means we are not using the mixture which is having more than 19:1 ratio, or which is leaner than 19:1. So we can't have the parts of air more than 19. And here the fuel cannot be too rich. We cannot have less than 9 parts of fuel when less than 9 parts of air when we have 1 part of fuel. Right? So we cannot use the air fuel mixture whose ratio, air fuel ratio is less than 9:1. Right? So if the ratio, when the air fuel ratio is less than 9:1, that is too rich mixture, and that we are not using. We are not using the too rich mixture because it will not burn properly. Sufficient oxygen will not be available for the burning of the fuel. So this mixture we are not using. We are not using the air fuel mixture whose air fuel ratio is less than 9:1. Now if the air fuel ratio is greater than 19:1, that means we are having more than 19 parts of air in one part of fuel, then that is too lean mixture, which also cannot be used. So in this too lean mixture, the percentage of fuel is so less that it cannot burn. In the too rich mixture, the percentage of fuel is too high to burn. So the burning range or the working range lies between 9:1 to 19:1. That is the useful air fuel mixture range. So actually we should go for this stoichiometric ratio, but depending upon the various conditions, running conditions of the engine, we have to vary this air fuel mixture between 9 to 19, so that the particular operation which is going on will be done properly. Maybe either cold starting, maybe acceleration, maybe load may be increasing, maybe load may be decreasing, or maybe retardation. So when the running conditions change, then the air fuel ratio should also change, but it is varying only between 9:1 to 19:1, not more than 19 and not less than 9, right? So now let us try to study the effect of air fuel ratio on the emissions of the exhaust gases. So we are plotting a graph. On the y-axis we are plotting the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide and oxygen in percentage by volume on the y-axis, on this left side of the y-axis, right? We are also having the right side of the y-axis. On the right side we are having the markings, the graduations for the nitrogen oxides in 1000 part per million, as well as we are plotting the unburned hydrocarbons multiplied by 100 in part per million, right? So this is about the y-axis. So here on the left side of the y-axis we are plotting the percentage by volume of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide and oxygen. On the right side of the y-axis we are plotting the part per million of nitrogen oxide and unburnt hydrocarbons. So this is the graph, and on the x-axis we are plotting the air fuel mixture. So this indicates the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. It lies between something like 14 and 15, say 14.7. 14.7 is the stoichiometric air fuel ratio, right? It of course varies from fuel to fuel, but the fuels which we are using, the gasoline, diesel, petrol which we are using, the approximate stoichiometric ratio for these fuels is something like 14.7. So suppose here the air fuel ratio, the stoichiometric air fuel ratio is 14.7, and here the air fuel ratio goes on decreasing as we go to the left, it goes on increasing as we go to the right. So here the air fuel ratio is 0, 10, 12. So this side we are having rich mixture, this side we are having lean mixture, because the air fuel ratio is increasing. That means the percentage of air is increasing, right? And on the y-axis I have told you, here this is the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, oxygen. They are present in percentage by volume, and these are the graduations 0, 2, 4, 6, 8% by volume of the exhaust gas, right? And on this scale, on the y-axis we are having nitrogen oxide and hydrogen, unburned hydrocarbons in part per millions. ppm means parts per million, right? And this is the graph. Let us study the graphs one by one. This is the graph for carbon dioxide. So you can see that the emission of the carbon dioxide is maximum at the stoichiometric air fuel ratio, and it again further reduces beyond the stoichiometric air fuel ratio, right? It increases up to the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. So this is about the carbon dioxide. Now this carbon monoxide, it will go on decreasing as the air fuel mixture increases, right? It is minimum here, but at the stoichiometric ratio, air fuel ratio, the emissions of carbon monoxide are quite low. Though they are not minimum, but they are quite low. The emission of the carbon monoxide is quite low at the stoichiometric air fuel ratio, right? Then this is about the nitrogen oxide. See the nitrogen oxide. So at stoichiometric air fuel ratio, the nitrogen oxide emissions are not at the peak, but they are lower than the peak, right? But they increases here. The maximum value is at something like 16. When the air fuel ratio is 16, that time the emissions of nitrogen oxides are maximum, right? And further they go on reducing. Here also they are less when the air fuel ratio is less than 16. So they go on increasing. The nitrogen oxide emissions go on increasing as the air fuel ratio increases up to something like 16, right? Then this is unburnt hydrocarbon. This is the graph for the unburnt hydrocarbons. So as the air fuel ratio increases, the unburnt hydrocarbon decreases, right? So inversely proportional. But here it's stable. At the air fuel ratio something like 18, here it is almost stable. But at the stoichiometric ratio also the value is sufficiently high. Value is sufficiently high. Here you can see it is 400 part per million, right? Even at the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. So this is about oxygen, right? So at stoichiometric ratio you will find that the emission of oxygen is low, but if you increase the air fuel ratio, then more oxygen will be emitted. Of course oxygen is not harmful, but oxygen is emitted means the combustion is incomplete, right? So when more oxygen is emitted, that time you will find that the nitrogen oxides are also more, right? So that is also not desirable, and therefore we are trying to keep the air fuel ratio as the equal to the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. So at that ratio you will find that the performance of the engine is also good, and at the same time the emissions are also optimum. Emissions are also optimum. We cannot have any air fuel ratio where all the emissions are minimum, but we can keep them at some optimum value, and we can select some optimum value of air fuel ratio at which the performance of the engine is better, and at the same time the emissions are controlled. So thank you my dear friends.